Action Express car, the number 5, backing the field up. The green flag is indeed out. And then we've got the number 90 car, which isn't, remember, second on the road. It's third. And very quickly, Ricky Taylor is able to sweep around the outside of Mark Goossens. To be fair to Mark, he stayed way out of the way there. And Ricky Taylor lost 0 time. For GTLM, they are working their way out of turns 1 and 2. It's Ford GT from Porsche, from Ferrari, from Chevrolet Corvette. No changes there, although James Collado is going to overlap Patrick Pilet into the braking area for the International Horseshoe. So he's on the wide line for that tight right-hander. Exit speed looks pretty good, though. And again, he's going to get close to within a half a car length of Patrick Pilet's Porsche, but there's no way through at the kink.
And Mark Goossens did exactly what one would have expected of somebody of his calibre and experience. Got right out of the way, as you said, Johnny Palmer, and that has just allowed Ricky Taylor to see what he can do. It was 1.1 seconds the gap between those first two cars as they crossed the stripe to take this restart, and it's about the same, maybe a little bit less as they go around banking NASCAR turns 1 and 2 and onto the back straight away. And it's now a great straight up battle to the finish between these two. There's nobody to get in the way, no teammates to get in the way, and there's no traffic either. There's going to be several laps before they catch their traffic. Can they go to the end without reaching the traffic? No, probably not, but whatever there is will be well sorted out by then.
Just under a second between the two leading cars, 19 minutes to go. Remember, get involved at the end of the race, because that's just the start of our conversation, our debrief, our post-mortem on a fabulous and fascinating 24 hours. Address your tweets to @IMSA if you've got questions to contribute to our post-race tech show. Then make sure the hashtag PRT is included in that tweet, and also still looking for nominations for the Spirit of the Race Award, hashtag SOTR to @IMSA on Twitter.
And Dirk Mueller there having to defend his position a little bit going into turn 1. He moved to the inside as early as he possibly could, going around a sort of that tightening radius turn 1 to prevent Patrick Pilet from even thinking about making a dive down to the inside. And those two now clear of the Action Express car that's in the other Action Express car, number 31 car, that's many laps down. And that has made sure there's a little bit of a gap back to the third place car in GTLM, which is the Ferrari just ahead of the Corvette.
6:47 laps completed. Philippe Albuquerque is at turn 6. No, a bit further around, beg pardon. He's on Speedway turn 2 now, with more prototypes pouring out of turn 6 and up onto the banking.
Two Fords, so Tony Kanaan and Olivier Pla, I think, exchanged positions as they came across the stripe. 0.00, not very many, but much between those two as they crossed the stripe. That's the battle for 5th and 6th place in GTLM, but that's still right in contention in any case, less than, well, a couple of seconds behind the leader. Look at these two overall leaders coming off turn 4. Nothing to choose between these two. 5 or 6 car lengths, and the number 10 car is tucked into the draft now of the number 5.
Yeah, the gap's definitely coming down, but unfortunately for Ricky Taylor, he's going to run out of real estate into the braking area for turn number 1. Gets really, really close to Philippe Albuquerque, and Albuquerque goes wide. Albuquerque's gone wide there now, but the next corner is a right-hander, and they kind of had to get into single file, so in the end the positions didn't change, but they were absolutely level coming out of turn number 1 there. There was that a slight error from Philippe Albuquerque, just going a little too deep into turn number 1 and allowing Ricky Taylor up alongside in the Wayne Taylor Racing Cadillac. My. So that is possibly Ricky Taylor's best opportunity to get by Philippe Albuquerque. The problem is he needs to solidify it very quickly and really be single file before they get to turn 2A, which is that little awkward right-hand kink on the approach to the International Horseshoe. Third position, still Mark Goossens. That's unlikely to change barring major incident. The battle for GTLM is still well and truly up for grabs, because Dirk Muller and Patrick Pilet separated by just a car length as they power their way down towards turn 6. That long braking area to get the car set up for an awkward corner, particularly on the exit as the flat infield section becomes the banking. There's that little lip which is treacherous overnight in the wet, far more predictable in these conditions. And Patrick Pilet, brand new car, remember, for 2017. The Ford is now 12 months old, although has had an awful lot of development on that GT car. And here comes Pilet closing up under braking. Thought about a dive up the inside, but thinks better of it. And Dirk Muller and Patrick Pilet are still right together. They've edged away from James Collado. Gap back to the Ferrari from the Porsche is 1.5 seconds now, and Collado at this stage can't live with the pace of the Ford and Porsche up front. Leaders are on the infield section.
A lock up there for Ricky Taylor going into the International Horseshoe lot. Cost him a couple of car lengths, certainly.
And here comes Pilet, going to try around the outside of Dirk Muller, right beneath us through the tri-oval. And we're looking now for the Porsche to make a move. Not quite close enough for Pilet then. And taking loads of curb here, up through the gears. Fourth gear and then down into second gear for the right-hander at the International Horseshoe. A little bit of opposite look required there. The Porsche touch loose into that right-hander as the leaders head up into Speedway turn number 1. Once again, this is lap 650.
Yeah, and it was on lap 614 that Ricky Taylor surprised. I think it was still Philip Albuquerque, wasn't it, on that occasion, going into the bus stop. He's not close enough this time. It was a great pass on that occasion to regain the lead one more time for the number 10 car, but he's not close enough this time as they head into the bus stop on lap 600, as you say, lap 650.
We've had 40 changes of lead so far in this race, Johnny. We've got 14 minutes left. What's the betting on there's going to be one more change of lead?
I have not got a clue. But
nor have I.
That's what's so enticing and mouth-watering about this fight up front. 14 minutes to go. And both cars deliberately a little bit wide that time into the tri-oval. Philippe Albuquerque almost stops on his marks. Again, he was about a car width away from the apex at turn 1. That's just given the advantage, a little bit of the advantage back to Ricky Taylor. And Taylor's right with Albuquerque in the braking area. More brake smoke, though, or tyre smoke coming from the Ricky Taylor Cadillac versus the Action Express. 6.2 litre powered car. Into the kink they go. First and second separated by way less than a second. It's 0.6 as we stand, and it's a very similar margin between the Porsche of Patrick Pilet second and Dirk Muller that leads the way. And Muller's going to be balked slightly here by a prototype. He's trying to get the pedal down. The prototype obviously comes into its own there and doesn't trouble Muller after about third gear. Into the braking area again, though, and Muller would dearly like a clean run here out of the International Horseshoe because he has Patrick Pilet snapping at his heels. There's also another prototype behind them wanting to get through. That's the ESM car, possibly of Ryan Diel. It might be the 22, which is still circulating. Into the braking area for the right-hander at the West Horseshoe now, and again a little bit off the apex for Dirk Muller.
Once again, the number 911 car, Patrick Pilet, thought about trying to make a move to the inside at turn 6, not quite close enough. We saw him do that before and clatter into the side of whoever that was. I can't remember who it was now, but this time he decided no, it wasn't quite close enough. Made the right decision. He didn't make the right decision last time, but he did get away with it. In GTD, meanwhile, we've still got those 5 cars from the lead lap. And hats off also to Alex Joe Brasting. That number 23 car is just one lap off the pace in GTD, having come from a long way back early on in this race. They've had a great comeback. And there was a 2-lap penalty, wasn't there, at one stage for Townsend Bell, and they're now just one lap off the lead in that number 23 Audi.
12 minutes to go in the 55th running of the Rolex 24 Hours at Daytona. You're tuned to IMSA Radio with the final stages of a very unpredictable race. This time Patrick Pilet gets a great run into the tri-oval. He will be able to overlap the Ford GT, gets his front wheels level with the rears of Dirk Muller. Muller's maybe going to run a little bit deeper into the corner. No, he doesn't even need to do that, but he had the Porsche on his outside line. And for the main part, if you're the GT on the inside at turn 1, you can control that situation. What you don't want to do is run too wide into the corner and allow someone up your inside. Very difficult to defend from that.
Yeah, it really is, isn't it? But great battle between these two, that's ongoing. And the two leaders, Philippe Albuquerque in that leading car, 1 minute 37.24 last time around. The previous lap was 1 minute 37.24. Yeah, identical to the thousandths of a second. Tremendous lap time. Ricky Taylor was fractionally quicker, but he's not quite close enough still to make that decisive move for the lead. And we're coming up for 10 minutes remaining, 10 minutes and 40 seconds remaining in this 24-hour motor race.
And even at this late stage of the race, Michael Christensen is finding speed in the Allegra Motorsports car. Just managed the best first sector of that car in this race. So Michael Christensen catching a little bit of clean air by the looks of things, doing a 55.9, and that has helped to eke out his class lead in GTD to 1.4 seconds over Christopher Meese. Nose to tail again between the two Cadillacs, leaving the International Horseshoe. At the start of the lap, they were 0.351 of a second separating those two cars, and into the West Horseshoe. Taylor getting tight again, under braking. Albuquerque, though, much more on his marks, I'd say, than I have seen him, needing to keep this neat and tidy. It's a wide car, the Cadillac, and as long as he's sticking to his marks, his clipping points, Ricky Taylor really can't find a way through.
That was a critical corner for Philip Albuquerque. He needs to get off that turn 6 and onto the chute that leads into the banking to maintain his advantage when they get to the bus stop.
Nose to tail as well for the GTLM fight. Here comes Pile around the outside at the International Horseshoe. Can't find a way through there. Dirk Muller stopping the Ford GT perfectly, turning it right and getting good power nice and early out of that car, the low slung Ford GT. And the roofline on a Porsche is not exactly high, but it looks like a big car compared to that svelte GT out front. Porsche trying to find its way through, but no joy so far.
Yeah, Ford versus Porsche, and that's the same a little bit, just a few car lengths further back, basically. Number 912 car just forced its way past number 68, so split the 69 and the 68. That is a battle for 5th, 6th and 7th in GTLM.
9 minutes to go, and the overall race leaders are working their way through the kink on the infield into the right-hander at the International Horseshoe. The white car ahead of the blue car and blue and black car of Wayne Taylor Racing. Gap opens up to about 7 car lengths as they head for the kink. There is traffic to deal with, though, in a moment or two for Philippe Albuquerque. Quite a lot of GT traffic out of this corner, the second tight right-hander of the lap. Now, if the two prototypes encounter this slower GTD traffic on the banking, that should be fine. There's plenty of space to get through. What they don't want to do is encounter back markers on the narrow infield sections. Again, Pile in the Porsche can draw alongside the Ford GT, being forced on that inside, or that outside line, though. Dirk Muller's doing a tremendous job here to make sure the Ford is stopped late, but sufficiently to get the car turned in. We haven't seen anything like a moment that, for instance, James Collado, he made a slight error earlier on that allowed just enough of a car width for Muller to get through at the time. And Muller wasn't going to be asked twice, but so far nothing like that kind of error from Dirk.
Indeed, massively experienced Dirk Muller, and he's been winning. He won championships in over here, way back. When was the one for Dick Barber Racing, wasn't it? In a Porsche on that occasion. That was back in 2000. On the GT Championship.
Contact out front, that's between the two leaders, is it not? Because the Cadillacs have, well, I didn't see the incident myself. I saw the number 5 car going wide and there was contact maybe with the 10. Need to see that again, but it means that Philippe Albuquerque goes wide at turn number 1 and Ricky Taylor is now out front. So the number 10 machine leading the way, and this was perhaps down to the traffic again that I was mentioning. So heading off the tri-oval, here comes the 10 car, braking but not sufficiently. And there was no gap there for me. No. Ricky Taylor went for a closing door, and it was a spin in the end for Philippe Albuquerque, wincing on the Pratt perch there. Oh man, we really didn't want it to come to a head like that. And 7 minutes to go.
Yeah, that's Wayne Taylor there, and you could see what he thought of that. It was written all over his face, wasn't it? Oh no, is what he meant, what he was thinking, even if he wasn't saying it.
Pile.
I think he's going to be asked to give that position. I'd be surprised if he wasn't by race control. I think there was a little bit of a gap, but not a Cadillac width.
No, quite right. And Collado is slowly gathering pace here and trying to reel in, or certainly being able to reel in Patrick Pile and Dirk Muller. The top two in GTLM haven't changed positions. Meanwhile, it's side by side between the Motoplast by Land Motorsport car, not for position though, because it's side by side with the number 19 BMW. But what I was Okay, it's the BMW going by. It looked like for a moment the Audi had so much pace it was actually able to draw level with a GTLM car. Not the case. The 29 machine of Christopher Mies, though, is trying to get a hustle on here. 1.2 seconds is the gap to Michael Christensen, so that's bubbling nicely as well in GTD. I need 3 eyes at this point in the race, because that's the frustrating thing about this. You can see too much of the track. It's all going on in front of me. It's just a question of working out where to look next. 6:55 laps completed. 4.6 is the gap between Ricky Taylor and Philippe Albuquerque, and that incident involving Albuquerque and Taylor will be being reviewed as we speak. 5 minutes to go. And from Taylor's perspective, there was a gap, but he was never going to get far enough alongside Albuquerque before the door was slammed shut in his face. And Albuquerque actually did a tremendous job to get the car moving as quickly as he did. Spun it round through a full 360 degrees, worked out where he was on the track, which way the track was going, and has rejoined just 3.9 seconds back, you know. But that may well be decided out of Ricky Taylor's hands.
And I reckon Johnny Collado now closer to Pilet than Pilet is to Muller in the GTLM first, second and third positions.
Yes, 7/10 of a second the gap Muller to Pilet, half a second back to James Collado in the Ferrari, the 488. And the Ricky Taylor car struggling. Oh, there was hesitation there as well for the 10 car. He went for a gap that wasn't there. Sandwiched between the wall and the Monteplast Audi. Desperate to try and thread his way through both a GTD and a GTLM car there. Had to check up big style. And that will have drawn Philippe Albuquerque a touch closer. 2 seconds now is the advantage.
Yeah, and inside 4 minutes to go in this race, and you know, I'd be really surprised if he gets away with this, Ricky Taylor. I'd have been inclined, if I was on the pit box, they say, look, let it go back past and then try and make another move. Well, now the longer he leaves that decision, the less opportunity he's going to have to make any pass.
But then,
because they're not going to get the white flag. Are they going to get the right flag next time around? It's going to be awfully close.
The thing is, if he is given a penalty, is he likely to be put behind Mark Goossens, or are they guaranteed a top 2 finish?
No, I think they're guaranteed a top two finish, even if it's a drive-through, which it probably wouldn't be.
I know it goes against the kind of fair play of motor racing, but is it almost worth the risk for Ricky Taylor to stay where he is and just risk being put back to second place post-race? 2.2 seconds is the gap at the moment. Taylor back to Philippe Albuquerque. We kind of know, well, the decision is being made in the next door office. Sadly, we're not privy to what's going on in there, but as soon as we get information, of course, we will tell you about that. 2 minutes and 45 seconds, 2 minutes and 40 seconds, and I'm hearing that there will be no further action on that incident. No action on the incident involving the 2 Cadillacs out front. Ricky Taylor legitimately leads this race. There is a 2-second gap between Ricky Taylor and Philippe Albuquerque, and Action Express Racing will be being informed of that. Well, 2 minutes and 15 seconds to go.
You know, what comes around goes around, and I reckon that restart, the number 31 car impeded the number 10 car. It looked like it for me. I mean, I didn't get a chance to look at any replays of it, but certainly that was my impression from looking out of the window as the cars came across the line. There was no call in that situation, and there was no call in this situation either. But look at this battle for GTLM.
Porsche versus Ferrari, 488,
and all of a sudden, Dirk Muller isn't in the sight, is he? Because he's pulled out a couple of seconds all of a sudden.
Yeah, 2.1 is the gap now. 0.2 of a second between the Porsche of Pilet and the Ferrari of James Collado. Let's see whether Collado can get an overlap into the braking area. I don't think he can find an inside line. Paul Trustwell.
Yeah, this lap and one more to go. And of course, once these two go through, then we have the GTLM battle to finish their race. So it'll be the prototypes that finish their race first, no matter what, and then the GTLM cars.
Tweet from Alex Capadia, who is a contributor often to Radio Le Mans and IMSA radio coverage. He, in his opinion, was ambitious from Ricky Taylor, but he was overlapping the 5 when the 5 started to close the door. Albuquerque's fault for him. At worst, 50-50, says Alex Capadia. A minute to go on the clock. The white flag is being prepared now and about to be displayed to Ricky Taylor. So Ricky, 6, 5, 7 laps completed. He's coming out of Speedway Turn 4 now, and here is the white flag displayed to Wayne Taylor Racing and the brand new Cadillac over the line it goes. The DPI VR and into the turn number 1 for the final time. We have 35 seconds on the clock. The lead margin has come down again. 1.5 seconds between Ricky Taylor and Philippe Albuquerque. Meanwhile, James Collado trying to find a way by the Porsche of Patrick Pilet. Can't do it there at the West Horseshoe, and Pilet almost deliberately running out a touch wider than he would do ordinarily, so that the Ferrari can't find a way up the inside at turn 6 either. What's the exit speed like for the 911 car? Pretty good. Up onto the banking. There are cars to negotiate here, and quickly the 911 swoops back down to the double yellow line there with the clock now reading 0. We are on the final lap, that is confirmed, but the leaders are so close here. 1.5 seconds has become maybe a second as they head into Speedway turn 1.
And in GTD a couple of laps ago, it looked like the Porsche of Michael Christensen had a pretty comfortable 2-second advantage. They're going down into turn 5. And there's less than a car length between those two in a battle for GTD.
So final time right down the back straight. This is going to be a first win for Cadillac Power and a 7th for GM engined efforts under 4 different brands: Chevrolet, Pontiac, Oldsmobile and New Cadillac. Just the question is, which one's going to win it? Ricky Taylor surely has enough from here. It is going to be so tight. Remember, this is a 24-hour race. They're coming out of Speedway turn 4 now. It's going to be Wayne Taylor Racing to take a victory they came so close to just a couple of years ago. Over the line they go, with the checkered flag being displayed to Ricky Taylor, who wins the Rolex 24 by 0.671 of a second. And Wayne Taylor cannot believe it down there in Wayne Taylor Racing's pit garage. Meanwhile, side by side for James Collado, who's going to be on the outside line in GTLM. Please don't throw it off, boys. Patrick Pilet versus Collado for second position. This is all playing very tightly into the hands of Dirk Muller as Michael Christensen is about to cross the line in the number 28 car, the 28 Allegra Motorsport Porsche 911 GT3R, and the 911 RSR provides Porsche with yet another extension to one of the longest podium scoring runs in world motorsport. Now over 55 runnings of this race. A tremendous effort from them. We're still waiting for the GTLM cars to head over the line, and Dirk Muller leading that class in the number 66 Ford GT. Remember, the Ford GT debuted here 12 months ago. They had so many problems, but the second place battle is yet to be decided. They're both going to be on the podium, I hope, but in what order? The Porsche versus the Ferrari, the 488. They're through the bus stop, still in the same order. Pilet ahead of James Collado. Meanwhile, the Ford GT's working its way out of Speedway turn 4, and Dirk Muller for the 66 crew about to come over the line. The ESMs are going to finish side by side for a photo finish, but it is Ford that win here, and so close further back. James Collado desperately trying the inside line, the outside line, cannot find a way by the Patrick Pilet driven Porsche in the end, and Ford win GTLM 52 years after the first of 2 overall wins by the Ford GT40. And you can tell the family resemblance, I'd say, between the Ford GT40 and the Ford GT. Dallara score their second win after 2002. I'll give you some more of those statistics right after we hear from Jordan Taylor with Shea Adam.
Jordan, it's a childhood dream realized to win the 24 Hours of Daytona, to do it with your parents on the pit box as Max's last race. I know you're emotional, but what are you feeling right now?
Just relief. I mean, we've come so close so many times, and to be honest, I'm just proud of my brother. He made it happen today, and this all goes out to Konica Minolta and for Cadillac. It's great. I'm speechless.
Congratulations.
He's not normally speechless, Jordan Taylor, but you can hear the emotion there in his voice. Boy, that was a hard-won victory, John.
Oh, magic stuff. And Johnny Palmer, we've sent him for a lie down in a darkened room. Marvellous stuff from Johnny Palmer. Coming up, Michelin Post Race Tech. Keep the questions coming in at IMSA Radio, hashtag Michelin PRT. The whole team are getting on the Dallara Cadillac to head to
John, it's Nick, can you throw